It's time for a bike break. Thanks for joining us today. Bike Break is brought to you by Smart Trips, the Community Cycling Center, Portland Bureau of Transportation, and it's made possible with support from Metro and the Federal Transportation Administration. And the event is part of Sunday Parkways Live, sponsored by Kaiser Permanente. One of the things I like to talk about is that transportation is about communication. But how do you communicate when you're out on the road?
Yeah, I think one really important thing is signaling your turns and stops. I've been riding with a lot of friends that I haven't ridden with in a really long time. And we're doing routes that I may know, but they may not know. So I need to alert everybody if there's a stop or a turn coming up, because I have had a friend zoom by while I was turning right because I didn't signal in time. And I think, if you're riding in a group or if you're just riding on the road and there's strangers around, it's really important to kind of let people know what you're doing so you don't kind of surprise anybody.
And I find that's true even if I'm just walking down the street. If a car doesn't signal, maybe I'm ready to cross the road and they're suddenly turning and I wasn't aware that they were going to do that, or a bike as well. One thing about bikes, when we're on a bike, we're riding it, we're piloting a vehicle, and legally we're required to signal our turns. But there is the exception that if you need both hands on the handlebar for safety, for using your brakes or just managing, you get an exception to that legal requirement to signal. Folks in automobiles, let's practice this more. It's really not that hard, just to touch that little turn signal. So be one of the 10%, hopefully soon to be more than that, who signal out on the roads. Oh wait, I'm going left, I'm going right, or I'm going right. So either way, you can just point in the direction you're going to go. And then I often find it's helpful to show that you're stopping or slowing. So for example, if I'm on a street and there's a car behind me and I see a pedestrian ahead, I'm going to give that signal so the car knows that they should also be slowing, or the bicyclist or whoever is out in the area. But there's other ways to let people know what's going on. What do you recommend?
I recommend kind of giving audible warnings and saying on your left if you're passing somebody. I don't know if people have had the experience of walking down the street and then having something like a car or a bike zoom by you without any alerting. And it's kind of surprising. And sometimes, you kind of like jump. And so it's really important for bikers to kind of let people know if you're passing another bike or sometimes even a car, so they know that you're making a turn or you're getting into a lane, just so everybody kind of is aware of what everybody else is doing. Things are a little bit busier now and people may not have had to deal with this in a while and may not be paying the most attention.
Oh, one of our folks in the chat mentioned calling out glass and potholes. Is that something you all do too?
That is a great courtesy, especially if you're on a street or another place where other bikers are behind you. If you see glass, if you see a pothole, they probably want to know about it. But especially if it's crowded, they may not see because you're in front of them. So letting them know, sometimes I'll say pothole and point to it as I'm kind of going around. I might say glass if it's kind of sprinkled, but that's an excellent suggestion. Thank you for bringing that up. And using a audible warning, like a bell, like an on your left, are really helpful when you're in a bike path or a bike lane with other bikers. But it's also helpful to give a warning, I find, when I'm going straight, I have the right of way, and there's a car pulling up to the stop sign of the intersection I'm about to go through. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this when I drive as well, I'm kind of in a hurry, I look quickly, I look and I go. And because a bike is smaller, it's harder to see. So when I'm in that situation on the bike, I may ring my bell, I may whistle loudly, I may just say, hello, anything to use two senses for that driver. The driver's going to look, so they're using one sense, but if they also hear something, they're going to stop and look. I have had times, I can't count, when I've come up to an intersection, I could tell a driver was not catching that I was there, and I whistled loudly and I could see them stop and look directly at me. So using that as a way to make sure folks know you're there, because if they know you're there, they can make the right decision. If they don't know you're there, they may not make the right decision. And let's see, one other thing to keep in mind, we mentioned it before, but I say, when it's congested out, when there's a lot of people on bikes in the area or a lot of cars, know when to go slow. You may be in a hurry, but when you go slower, you have more time to perceive all the challenges around. You have more time to react, and your brakes will work better. The faster you go, the more time you need, to stop over a period of time. If you need to stop within 10 feet and you're going 20 miles an hour, that's gonna be tough. But if you're going 10 miles an hour, you can probably do it. So critical mass used to say, you're not blocking traffic, you are traffic. When there's a lot of traffic, people need to be able to pay more attention and react in appropriate time. As you're traveling, you may notice some new things, and you may need to take a second to kind of figure them out. Generally speaking, if you see green paint, that's a cue that we put on the street to say this is an area where bikes can travel, and consequently a signal to drivers of cars, you're going to see a lot of bikes moving through here, so use more caution. And we also use it as a way to guide through particular intersections if it's not clear. So keep your eye out for that. We have been busy, especially in East Portland. We have created new neighborhood greenways, low speed, low traffic routes, mostly on regular city streets. And one other thing that we do is that when we create those routes, besides just putting down sharrows, the markings that show you it's a bikeway, and putting in speed bumps, which help keep the speed of auto traffic low, we also improve the intersections where it's a really busy street. And that is one of the key things, because it's great to ride on a low traffic street, but then if you get to, I don't know, Gleason, and you've got 5 lanes to cross, we want to give you a little help. So we actually have a video talking about some of the improvements we made. So some examples of some new things you'll see. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.